Kashmir conflict, both India and Pakistan's goal to control the territory revolves around nationalism. India, which controls most of Kashmir, sees ceding any of it as giving away Indian land. Pakistan sees Kashmir as an integral part of the country and sees India's continued control over the mostly Muslim area as unfinished business from the original partition. Despite fighting two major wars early in their independence and decades of violence, the situation in Kashmir has changed little since 1949. Negotiations between India and Pakistan have been held on and off for decades, but they have yet to lead to any real change to the 1949 status quo. As long as both sides continue to be guided by nationalism, a permanent peace seems unlikely. The Kashmir Valley was under control of the Sikhs from the early 19th century until the British defeated them in the 1840s. The British combined the territories of Kashmir, Jammu, Ladakh, and some smaller kingdoms into one territory to be administered by a Hindu Maharaja. The Maharajas administered this majority Muslim province for the British until partition in 1947. The province was just one of the 560 autonomous provinces the British ruled, but events before and immediately after partition would make it important to both India and Pakistan. When Pakistan was envisioned in 1933, it was expected that Kashmir would become a vital part of the new country. Pakistan was to include all the Muslim areas of British India, including Kashmir. The K in the name Pakistan stands for Kashmir. Already, nationalism played a part in Pakistan's pursuit of Kashmir. By identifying the area as critical to the nation's wholeness and Islamic identity, Pakistan became convinced that Kashmir was rightfully its territory, even though the independent state of Pakistan had yet to exist. However, Jammu and Kashmir did not join Pakistan. As the British prepared to leave India, they gave Hari Singh, the Hindu Maharaja of Jammu and Kashmir, the choice of what country the territory would belong to. Singh put off his decision as far as he could. Pakistan was closer, but he feared that as a Hindu he would not be able to maintain power in it. However, the Pakistanis were impatient. Armed tribesmen invaded. Singh saw a threat to his power and turned to India for help. Singh agreed that in return for armed Indian assistance, he would give the Indian government control over Jammu and Kashmir's defense, foreign policy, and communications. Singh's decision to join India led India to see Kashmir as their territory. As 1947 ended, both Pakistan and India saw Kashmir as theirs and were willing to fight for it. For the rest of 1947 and the entirety of 1948, India and Pakistan fought over Kashmir. India's army battled the Pakistani regulars during this time. However, harsh conditions in Kashmir and fighting led to large casualties on both sides. On January 1st, 1949, the United Nations arranged a ceasefire. The ceasefire line was drawn up where the fighting ended. India was left in control of about 2/3 of Jammu and Kashmir, while Pakistan had the remaining 1/3. Both sides committed to holding a vote where all of Jammu and Kashmir would decide on which country they wanted to belong to. However, the referendum was never held. Both sides demanded the other withdraw troops first, which neither would do. Both states incorporated their part of Kashmir into their countries. India saw its part as integral to the nation, while Pakistan felt that all of Kashmir was integral even before there was a Pakistan. As a result, tensions hardened between the two. Pakistan was unwilling to accept Indian control over Kashmir, seeing Pakistan without Kashmir as incomplete. Meanwhile, India saw Kashmir as legally its, and felt that since partition was complete in 1947, it should not have to cede more territory. India feared that if it gave up Kashmir, it could lead to the loss of the 12% of India that is Muslim, creating effectively a second partition and endangering the nation's secular character, as well as creating internal violence. Indians were, and still mostly are, fine with the status quo, but Pakistan is not. The fact that India felt that it would only be complete as long as it held Kashmir, and Pakistan felt that it would not be complete unless it held Kashmir, made compromise very difficult. When Pakistan attacked in 1965, it was once again motivated by nationalism. Foreign Minister Bhutto used the message that Pakistan was incomplete without Kashmir to rally the masses. Bhutto convinced President Ayub Khan to attack India, believing that India was weak and a Pakistani victory would make them the most powerful Muslim nation in the world. However, Pakistan underestimated India and suffered military setbacks. After major fighting, the United Nations once again proposed a ceasefire, which both sides accepted. Pakistan was overstretched, while Indian Prime Minister Shastri hoped for a reduction in tensions between the two states. Ultimately, some negotiations were held, and the two states returned to the 1949 ceasefire lines. But the issue of Kashmir remained unresolved. Pakistan had a hard time accepting its military defeat, while India's success made it less likely to want to hold a vote on Kashmir's future. The same nationalistic issues remained and would be hardened after Pakistan lost Bangladesh in 1971. While India went to war to help Bangladesh gain independence from the rest of Pakistan, the fighting did not take place in Kashmir. However, the war would strengthen Pakistan's nationalist feelings towards Kashmir. With Bangladesh lost, the Pakistanis made Kashmir the defining issue for them, hoping to erase their defeat in Bangladesh from memory. Kashmir became the defining issue for Pakistan's religious radicals, while the continuing conflict became important for renewing Muslims' commitment to the Pakistani state. In the next few decades, the conflict would take on a more religious tone as foreign mujahideen fighting in Afghanistan came to Kashmir to help Pakistan. But the nationalist element remained. Pakistani presidents, both religious and secular, were committed to taking Kashmir. Indian policy remained the same. India reaffirmed that Kashmir was a part of it, which Pakistan rejected. India angrily denounced Pakistan's support for Kashmiri insurgents, which India referred to as cross-border terrorism. India and Pakistan fought their most recent war over Kashmir in 1999, when India, accusing Pakistani forces of infiltrating Kashmir, launched airstrikes against Pakistani-based targets for the first time in 30 years. The war ended with both sides claiming victory, but Pakistan backing down due to United States pressure. However, the absence of war has not led to an absence of tension. Until the September 11th attacks, Pakistan actively supported Kashmiri terrorist groups. The practice India claims still continues, but Pakistan denies. Over the decade, Pakistan has become less supportive of the insurgents, but many Pakistanis feel that the United States is focusing on Pakistani-based groups while ignoring what Pakistan sees as Indian support for terror. In April 2010, fighting broke out between Indian troops and Kashmiri separatists, with India claiming Pakistani-based groups were infiltrating the region. Most negotiations over Kashmir have been bilateral due to Indian foreign policy. While Pakistan has welcomed mediation, India has had bad experiences with the United Nations and distrusts the United States due to its support for Pakistan during the Cold War. As a result, Pakistan and India have negotiated over the decades, but little has been achieved. After their second war, India and Pakistan did negotiate in 1966 and agreed to withdraw their troops back to the 1949 ceasefire lines. But neither side got what it wanted. Pakistan didn't get Kashmir onto the formal negotiating agenda, while India did not get a no-war treaty. The two did sign a declaration to resolve their disputes peacefully, but just 5 years later, they were at war again. The 1972 Simla Accords did ease tensions when India and Pakistan committed themselves to working together bilaterally to solve their disputes, but tensions increased again in 1974 when Indian Kashmir reaffirmed it was part of India. In 1998 at Lahore, the two pledged to intensify their efforts to resolve their disputes. 1 year later, they were at war. A major problem is that, for negotiations to succeed, India and Pakistan must give up something. But India will not accept giving up any of the Kashmiri territory it holds, and Pakistan will not accept letting India keep any of Kashmir. As a result, it seems hard to find a middle ground. Another problem is the Kashmiris are needed for any successful resolution, and many of them want to be independent from both India and Pakistan, something neither state wants. Until one of the states is willing to give up something, it seems negotiations will be stalled. Nationalism has created and fueled the Indian-Pakistani conflict over Kashmir. Both sides see it as an essential part of their nation, and giving it up as unacceptable. While 61 years have passed since the current boundaries were established, little has changed except Pakistan's nationalism has become even more mixed with religion. Until one or both sides are willing to make a real compromise or defeat the other in war, the Kashmir conflict is likely to remain unresolved.